And level design is a bit different from architecture, primarily in that level design is about sort of the choices of design and how you're designing a space. So we see this enemy right here, and well, rather we see two enemies up here, and this has a lot to do with level design and game design. So the enemies that we're seeing here are approaching us straight on, but from behind us there's literally empty space. These enemies will actually fall over this ledge, and you can actually fall over this ledge as well. So the intentionality behind the game design and level design here is that they're trying to make it so that you have to move backwards, but if you move backwards, you fall to your death. So this relates, again, to the architecture of the game, in that the architecture is constructed in a way that the way in which you approach these enemies very much affects the way in which you play the game. So if you rush them, they will always respond in sort of the same way. They'll always come at you at that same sort of straight-on angle. So the enemies are here, and they run at you straight towards here, which means that on your initial approach, the enemies are actually trying to literally run you off of the cliff. Which, again, you'll see the game doing this throughout the entirety of the playthrough. So that's obviously one of the most intentional uses of game design. So right here we can see an enemy is throwing fire at us from above. And so if we're not careful, we can get hit by the enemy and killed very easily. Or we can draw them out. And so we have different strategies that we can take toward enemies that allow us to perform against the enemies in different ways. To heal. So anyways, there's a lot of intentionality in the way in which the spaces are presented in this game. Game design obviously also consists a lot of sort of the mechanics of the game, whereas if you swing, there's a certain delay. If you swing the other way, there's another delay. So there's different types of swings, and there's different types of attacks, and all of them sort of refer to the game design in some way, that they are very intentional in the way that they can only do so much with the amount of things that they're given. There's dodging, there's attacking, there's running, and there's a jump move as well if you run and jump. Hold on, one sec, let me see if I can show this to you. There we go. So there's a jump. So you can jump in this game. But again, the entire architecture here is sort of a very sheer cliff. You're literally going almost straight up the entire time. And part of this is sort of a initial ascension of the game type. In the original, rather not the original, but the last game that was made by From Software that was a prequel to this, there is a very similar sort of aspect in the first level as well. And this game, unlike that game, is actually what's called an open world game, which is to say that there are many different ways in which you can approach the game world.